The LGBTQI plus community and sex workers say they have been left out of anti-GBV action plans, and now they want the president to explain why. Now, today, on the last official day of the 16 Days of Activism campaign, activists will gather to discuss this particular issue. So let's take this conversation further now. This morning with Zain Nazier, of course, director and co-founder of Your True Colours. Zain, thank you for your time and good morning to you. This is a call for concern, understandably so, that you are raising the members of the LGBTIQ plus community as well as sex workers being excluded of such an important conversation, a scourge in this country.
Correct. So there's a lot of, obviously, these root causes that we need to address, and today we will tackle some heavy conversations in the Cape Flats area, inviting the community to basically to transform harmful social norms and to empower women, children, and also sex workers to stop the violence and basically to instill belief. So there's a lot of in the society, especially in health, education, that work needs to be done. And there's a silent pandemic that's currently happening. So we need to be heard. People are dying on the Cape Flats. People are dying in our townships. And even our sex workers are being not heard. And even as survivors, they are not being taken in account.
Yeah, you mentioned there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. I mean, just give us a sort of like a synopsis of some of the issues you'll be addressing and some of the supposed recommendations that you'll be tabling.
Okay, so for today we have a fantastic panel. We will tackle spiritual issues, which we know that all, on our pulpits, hate crime and hate speech are being preached and talked about while LGBTI members are sitting in the rows. We will also have services provided to the LGBTI community, which there is. We are very happy to have such a lot of NGOs in Cape Town. We will also talk to, we have Pas Op, who's also a foreign national NGO who deal with refugees that are denied asylum in Cape Town or even in South Africa. And also we will have SWET, or the sex workers NGO, who will also talk about the issues that they deal with.
Yeah, we can't have these conversations, I suppose, Zain, without also talking about, resources and the financial impact, especially when it comes to funding and assisting survivors or even causes like this. What's been the impact like in terms of funding? Have you received any support whatsoever, I suppose even from a government perspective, in ensuring that all these recommendations and resolutions tabled are sustainable?
So there should be more funding spent on this issue, because there's for our education department, there isn't a lot of education for our children, even to educate them about SOGI, sexuality, orientation, gender identity. Also, we need to speak to the leaders at large. And also put in mechanisms in place. For instance, we need to look at safe spaces for the LGBTI community to go to, and also to unpack and learn and also develop themselves, because coming in is also equally as important as in coming out. And we need to hold these spaces for our communities. Also, more shelters. Shelters should be made available, because when people do come out, there isn't enough resources for them. They then land on the streets and also are very vulnerable at this point in time. So holistic approaches should be included, and also parent holistic movement should be incorporated. We also have a lot of attitude change that needs to take place. So behavior change is very difficult to manage, but if we start small, we can basically help and support those who are in need. And it takes a lot of bravery and courage to do so. So we need to make the difference and make the change in people's lives, because we are humans, and it's a human right, and our human rights are being violated.
Yeah, and I mean, with that being said, I wanted to ask you before I let you go, you know, the importance of raising awareness and continuing these conversations, you know, from, you know, home, that home setting to churches, to communities, and even in schools, when it comes to education, as you mentioned earlier on, Zain, just briefly, the importance of ensuring that these conversations don't stop.
It should not stop. It should not stop. We need to engage with our civil society. We need to speak to our parents. We need to speak to people that are really close to us, that can understand how what we are dealing with. I mean, it's 2021, and we're still dealing with this issue. And like I said, it's a silent pandemic. We do make some inroads with this. However, more conversations, more community engagements, more dialogue should happen wherever we go, and we shouldn't be silent any longer.
Well, I appreciate you starting this conversation as well with us this morning, Zain. That's all the time I had with you, but thank you so much for joining us. The director and co-founder of your True Colours organization, Zain Nazier.